Hello, welcome everyone to the Spotlight here on Fightful. I'm Jeremy Lambert, joined as always by Stephen Jensen. Jensen, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right, man. Doing all right. Just getting a start to the day. Got some kind of bad allergies going this morning, but outside of that, can't really complain. Looking forward to a good day at work on the shoot job. Looking forward to talking to you about some wrestling. I probably won't be going to Terminus tonight. That's in Atlanta, but I got to work a little bit late tonight. I don't think I'll make it out. But I'm going to watch the show on Fight TV if I can't make it out to the show. So we'll probably talk about that a little bit next week. Then I'm hoping to get to Battle Slam next Thursday because that's already coming up the following Thursday. So hopefully I get to go to some live wrestling soon. Couldn't go to Dynamite last night either because of the shoot job. So I've been missing some live wrestling, but the trade-off has been solid. So it is what it is.
I was disappointed for you that you were not able to go to Dynamite last night because I know it was relatively close to where you were. And I thought, I was like, I feel like Jensen's going to go to this, but then when you didn't say anything, I was like, I don't think he is going to go to this. I feel like you would have said something and been hyped about it. So I'm sorry you did not get to go to Dynamite last night. You got allergies because you are allergic to the bullshit that AEW produced last night in that main event.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was we're definitely going to talk about that. But yeah, it was just one of those things where it was like, by the time I got off work, I mean, I didn't have tickets to begin with because I anticipated not being able to go, but it was like, I was doing the math in my head and I was like, at best, I would get there like right around the second hour of Dynamite. And I was like, by that point, I might as well just watch it at home, you know?
Yeah, you've missed way too much by that point.
Yeah.
And you could have seen Rampage in the rap battle, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I always forget that they do Rampage right after. Obviously, I know they do Dark beforehand. Shout out to Bear and Black. Got a W last night. So
wow, spoiler. You're out here spoiling Dark Elevation, Stephen Jensen.
I thought that was pretty. I mean, it's pretty out there. Like, he's been tweeting about it. Sean's been tweeting about it. Like, I mean, like, it's pretty
all of them are spoiling. Bear and Black spoiling his own match. Sean's spoiling it. Yeah. All of you guys are spoiling it. Terrible. Yeah. Real quickly, let me handle some business on the business end here. I said I was going to do Painmaker last week, but then Alex Pulowski did it on last night's show, and I didn't want to look like I was just ripping off his bit. And also, I was not a fan of that match, as we'll get to here in a second, and I'm not going to pay homage to that nonsense because I was not happy with it. But the main reason is Pulowski did it on the post-Dynamite show last night, and I didn't want to like do back-to-back kind of the same bit with Alex. So that's why I did not go in full Painmaker regalia here tonight. You can send you can send your super chats, your humper chats, like our pal JJ, who leaves us a humper chat. He's at the cinema right now. He's hanging out with his friends, but he's still, even though he's not here live, still left us a humper chat. Said, hello to my favorite big star, King of the Indies watcher. Sorry, not going to be live today. Hope you're doing well. My spotlight is none other than JEFFJARRETT, Jeff Jarrett, smartest man in wrestling. Much love to both of you. We will talk about Jeff Jarrett a little bit later on. In our creator spotlight, a little bit later on, we have Megabyte Ronnie. Megabyte Ronnie. This interview rolled. We taped it on Tuesday, as we typically do. Megabyte Ronnie has competed on AEW Dark. He is a pro wrestler, also a competitive eater. He was in the Nathan's hot dog eating contest this year. He does a bunch of other eating contests around the Major League Eating circuit. Just a tremendous interview. I never know what to expect with some of these interviews, Stephen Jensen, especially when you pick them, when you're like, hey, let's get this guy on the show. And we talked about Megabyte Ronnie the other week when we talked about the hot dog eating contest. And I just threw out there, you think we can get him on the show? And then we did, but I never know what to expect with this kind of stuff. I like having various people on from various parts of the wrestling world. Megabyte Ronnie fucking ruled, man. I'm excited for everybody to listen to this interview. I hope you guys enjoy that later on.
Yeah, he was great. You guys are going to really enjoy that. You know, as I often say, you know, when it comes to like American heroes, American patriotism, it's the vets and then the guys who compete in the Nathan's famous hot dog eating contest on the 4th of July, and he's both. So he's I mean, this was a great interview. You guys are going to really, really enjoy it. I think we talk a lot about competitive eating. We talk a lot about pro wrestling. Both worlds overlapping. I got to nerd out about some eaters that I watch on YouTube that Ronnie was familiar with, and he was friends with some of these guys. So it was, I really enjoyed that interview. I think you guys are going to really like it.
Jensen, let's get into it. Do you want to start at AEW or WWE this week?
Leave it. That's up to you. You want it to me? We'll start. No, let's start AEW this week because I think we started WWE last week, I think.
All right, here we go, everybody. AEW.
Over 1 million fans and a great number in the demo tuned in. And it was a great show, and I think it's been a run of great shows.
Don't think it was a great show last night, Stephen Jensen. It wasn't bad. I won't be hyperbolic about it. It wasn't a bad show or anything. But that main event, Jensen, the barbed wire everywhere, Chris Jericho, Eddie Kingston, wasn't good. It was not a good main event. I thought it lacked real intensity that they needed for, one, that type of match, two, that feud that has been going on pretty much all year. And it lacked the intensity. I didn't like the finish. I didn't like Jericho winning. It was too hokey and goofy with all of the, oh, let's lower the shark cage. They couldn't get the key. Here comes the Blackpool Combat Club. There's Sammy. Too much going on. It should have just been about Eddie and Jericho. I thought it was the wrong structure. I didn't think it was well worked. And that's not really a knock on the competitors, but sort of. I didn't think they played into the stipulation well enough. I didn't like the winner. I don't think Jericho should have won. They used the gimmick at the end where he got thrown into the spider web. The crowd didn't care at all. Eddie's just sitting there. They got to stop with this barbed wire stuff. They did barbed wire exploding death match, and that was a dud. This was a dud. Cut the barbed wire out. No more barbed wire in AEW. What'd you think of this match?
Yeah, I mean, this definitely, unfortunately, this whole thing kind of like underwhelmed. Did not reach or exceed expectations. Unfortunately, I'm a big Jericho guy. People know that. And I'm a big Kingston guy as well. You know, I'm a big fan of both these guys, and it's just weird because this whole feud kind of got booked backwards. It feels like Kingston should have beat Jericho by submission last night to wrap the feud up, but he beat him by submission the first time they wrestled in one of my favorite matches of the year so far. I love that Jericho Kingston one-on-one match where Kingston beat him with that stretch plum. Yeah, that was awesome. And then it's like it just been kind of strange the way that it all went down, because I think the rest of the feud has been great with like kind of the gang warfare and the blood and guts match and all that. Like the rest of it was good. It's just, if they were going to do it this way, they probably should have had Jericho beat Kingston when they went one-on-one, and then Kingston gets the win back here, and then it's done with, and they all move on. The problem I have with last night is it felt like it was done, but it also doesn't. Like, it feels like, it feels like the two groups are still going at each other. Same with Guevara Cost. I mean, unless they're just going to kind of pivot to like Guevara versus Kingston, which is possible, but that's still pretty much group versus group at that point. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. And then it was unfortunate after the match, like it was just weird. It was like they didn't know what they were supposed to be doing. Like Eddie throws like a spinning back fist that like doesn't hit anyone, and then like they're kind of like walking into each other, and it was just bizarre kind of seeing it all go down the way it did. Then when he threw him into the spider web, like you said, of the barbed wire on the outside, and the crowd just didn't respond. And then like the commentary was just like, yeah, we'll see you next week on Dynamite. It was just like what just happened? And the only thing I can compare it to, it wasn't as bad as this, but it just reminds you of the kind of stuff of like the exploding barbed wire, like you mentioned before, like at the end of that match where like it was a literal dud. You know, we're just like, oh my God, like damn, they could have just stopped. Like it's one of those things that's just kind of disappointing, unfortunately, because I like both guys so much. The shark cage thing was cheesy. Not the idea of the shark cage. And I get the tie-in with Shark Week and all that stuff, but like the fact that they were able to just get out of the cage, like they just like slipped through the bars. And here's one more thing. I'm just going to say this. This is the most obvious thing in the world. I'm sure every wrestling fan thinks it, because this happens every time. Whenever there's a lock and key involved, it's like for whatever reason they just can't execute that. Like it doesn't matter if it's Ty Conti, it doesn't matter if it's Mark Henry, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like
Paul Heyman.
Paul Heyman. Oh yeah, with the Roman Reigns thing, like you couldn't get it. It was like was that like a last man standing match too? And they're like trying not to count because like they can't get the thing off. It's like you figured that they would be practicing and super sure, okay, we got the right key, we got the right lock, we've practiced doing this a bunch of times, doing it quick so that this doesn't happen live. It seems to happen every fucking time live. I don't understand how that keeps happening. So that's a little disappointing too.
She changed the keys. Excalibur did like try to cover and be like, oh, she changed the keys. It's like, I mean, you're trying.
Yeah, at least he
Shout
tried.
out Excalibur for
but in reality, she couldn't open it, and they kept changing cameras and stuff because they wanted to not be focused on her not opening the thing. But then it was so goofy to me how they just got out. It just slid out, and I was like, oh, okay, so they could just got out the entire time. Like, I know that they're up a little bit higher before, but the whole idea of like they weren't even trapped to begin with because they could just slide out of those things. It was just goofy. So anyway, it just didn't come across great. You know, this was nothing like. And this isn't. I'm not putting blame on anybody, by the way, but I'm just saying like this was nothing like Jericho versus Nick Gage. Like that ruled. Like that was like exactly what you wanted out of like a death match on AEW television. Like that, they executed that flawlessly, in my opinion. With this, it just didn't work, and it's disappointing. And it leaves Kingston in a weird spot because they're trying to frame this like he's now won the feud because he threw Jericho into the spider web, but in reality he lost the match, so it doesn't really make him look good at the end of the day. So I honestly think the entire thing was counterproductive last night.
Ashok mentioned barbed wire explosion was not their fault. It wasn't, but It was on their television, and you know that's how it came across on TV at the pay-per-view. So they get incorrectly or correctly, like they get the blame for that. Like that's how it came across. That's how it remembered, whether it's their fault or not. And it wasn't. It was the company that they hired and everything. But you know that was the lasting memory, and it's on AEW, or it's associated with AEW. Right. The same thing with this. I do think this was just bad booking. I do like the timing. Yeah, you mentioned that after the match, things were way off with Kingston, Guevara, and Jericho. I don't know what they were trying to do, but it didn't look good. And then Eddie tossed them into the spider web, and nobody cared. And they tried to frame it as like, oh, Eddie won. Maybe Eddie does like the Foley thing of, I remember that Foley and Edge from WrestleMania, where Foley like wanted his WrestleMania moment, wanted his WrestleMania victory. And so he lost that match to Edge, but they framed it as like, oh, I got my moment because I put you through hell in that match when we went through the flaming table and everything. Like I saw the fear in your eyes. I don't remember the exact promo, but I remember he cut this promo of like, I won because I got that moment that I was seeking. Maybe that's how Eddie tries to frame this of like, I made you bleed. That's all I cared about. I don't care about wins and losses. Like, I just wanted to hurt you. I wanted to put you through hell. You got taken out on a stretcher. Look how maimed your body is. Maybe that's how they try to save this. But the way the crowd reacted when he threw them in the spider web, it's going to be tough to save. And Eddie Kingston is certainly good enough to do it. So is Chris Jericho. But that reaction was so bad because no one actually thought Eddie won this thing. People want to see Eddie Kingston win. Like they want to see him win these matches. When he actually beat Jericho at Revolution, huge pop for that. People want to just see Eddie Kingston reach the top of the mountain because the story is he's this big loser. Like he's good, but not great. He's never going to win a title, never going to, be at the pinnacle of the sport. People want to see Eddie Kingston win. They don't want to see him just kind of like stand tall. And that's sort of what happened last night. He was sitting on the ring apron, but they want to see him win, and he didn't win last night. And that's the lasting memory people are going to have is that he lost this match. Chris Jericho won. And even though Eddie Kingston stood tall, whatever, like it doesn't do him too many favors. Again, Eddie Kingston is brilliant on the microphone. I don't know if there's anybody better than him. The next program that he does, whatever it is, it seems like maybe they're going to Guevara. He's going to talk himself into this match. He's going to make it seem like a big deal. It's going to be a big deal because he's that good on the microphone. But at some point, they got to give us the satisfying Eddie Kingston victory. And they did it at Revolution. And then for some reason, they didn't do it last night, even though they 100% should have, because I don't know what Jericho certainly doesn't need this win. Like he doesn't need this victory. Jericho can do whatever and be fine. He's Chris Jericho. It's okay. Eddie Kingston kind of just needed this moment. It felt like it was Eddie Kingston's time last night and he didn't get it. And I don't like this about AEW. This is a big criticism I have of the company is like they say wins and losses matter. And to an extent, they do, and this is a credit to the talent being so good at talking. But you see a lot of these guys, they lose a lot of these big matches, and then they still have big matches. Like when they try to sell me on, oh, Marina Shafir is 22-2. Like, all I do is see her lose. Okay. Right. I don't care if she beats a bunch of nobody. Eddie Kingston, when they try to sell me, and again, Eddie Kingston, brilliant. But when they try to sell me of like, hey, this guy, like, big match for Eddie Kingston's like, all I do is see this guy lose these big matches. Wins and losses do matter in AEW, certainly more than they do in WWE. But a lot of these guys lose big matches that they try to sell are still in like big match positions. And that gets a little frustrating for me.
Sure. And I think everything you're saying is totally valid. And I agree with you about a lot of this. That's hoping for me, I'm a huge AEW mark. Like, I love the company. I thought the rest of the show last night was pretty damn good. But it's, I agree with what you're saying. I mean, it's just disappointing how it was executed, unfortunately. And I also think whether people like it or not, and obviously, once again, I'm a big Jericho fan, but even I'm okay to like recognize when certain things are working and certain things aren't. Like, when Jericho, I just think that in AEW, most of these long-term stories that Jericho's a part of, I just don't think he's going to lose at the end of the day. Like lose the big match at the end of the feud in most of these situations. Like, he lost to Orange Cassidy and like that orange.
Yeah, he took a bump into Orange Cassidy didn't pin him. He just took a bump into a pool. Exactly.
But he beat him the other times they wrestled. And then you had like the MJF thing where MJF beat him, but then like Jericho at the end of the day got the win. Like, it seems kind of the same thing with Kingston. Like, it seems like these long stories for Jericho, like at the end of it, he's and honestly, I don't know who to blame or like if it's bad or not. My thing is like specifically more so with Kingston in this scenario, because it's like, I just don't think this does anything for Kingston to ultimately lose this at the end of the day. Like, it doesn't, like, this didn't wind up elevating him. But with Orange Cassidy, even though it was a bump into a punch bowl or whatever, orange juice, orange mimosas, whatever they called that, he still got a win at the end of the thing. And it was like, okay, Orange Cassidy, he has a win over Jericho. We can take him legitimately as a main event level guy. And then ever since then, he's just killed it. Like, and most recently, like the stuff with Ospreay and stuff, I mean, just awesome. And like, I think that some of that stuff like really did help Orange Cassidy in his perception of the company, going from like a complete comedy wrestler to being taken a little more seriously. The MJF Jericho feud, I liked a lot as well, but I think MJF ultimately should have won that feud for like the same reasons I think that Kingston should have ultimately won this feud, because Jericho is a made man regardless. He's a superstar. He's a legend. He's one of the best of all time, in my opinion. And he's a big reason why AEW was so successful at the beginning of the company. Like, people underestimate, I think, sometimes how important it was for them to get him when that company started, because, you had Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, who were big stars, but more like internationally and more like an indie level in the States. And then, and of course, like big in New Japan and big in Ring of Honor and those kind of things. But and you had Cody, who was a former WWE star, but wasn't like a WWE main eventer and like had to really prove himself and rebuild himself on the indies. So like that was like the core group when AEW started. Hangman Page was pretty unproven in like the mainstream eye. So when they locked in Jericho, it was like, oh, this is real. Like, they got Chris Jericho on here. Like, and so I think he means a lot to this company and the success of the early success of the company. But at this point in the game, it's okay for Jericho to lose these feuds. Like, it's not going to hurt Jericho. He's going to be just fine. He's still Chris Jericho. And someone like Eddie Kingston really needs to be winning this kind of stuff at the end of the day to elevate him, especially when he's surrounded by all these winners. Like, it's like Eddie Kingston, best friends with Jon Moxley and teaming with Bryan Danielson and so on and so forth. But like, he keeps losing when it matters, it feels like. But the other guys are like succeeding. So I'll say this: if it's him versus Sammy Guevara next, he absolutely has to win that feud against Guevara. Like, no doubt about it. But yeah, so it's just disappointing. I thought the rest of this feud has been really good between the two and between the Combat Club and the Jericho Appreciation Society. I just think last night the execution wasn't good. It was booked backwards, in my opinion, and it's real unfortunate when a guy like Eddie Kingston throws Chris Jericho into a spider web, a barbed wire, and just nobody even responds. Like, that's not good. So
stop doing the barbed wire matches, Tony Khan. Ain't working. It's a good concept on paper, but
sure,
for some reason, and one reason was not on them. Last night's reason was on them because it was bad booking. Chris Jericho winning and then deflating the crowd. Though just the layout, the whole layout of that match just didn't work.
Yeah.
It didn't work for me last night. Didn't work for me, brother. I am a little concerned we're about to get Chris Jericho and Jon Moxley because Jericho's now beaten Kingston. He mentioned in the promo when he came out and interrupted Moxley and Tanahashi, like, why am I not getting that spot? They did the feud before the pandemic and everything. I think that's where we're headed. Is I don't know who else Moxley. I think Moxley's going to have a match, a couple singles matches with Dax and Cash before CM Punk eventually comes back, so they can do like a trios match. Assuming like Danielson's cleared, but even not, you throw Yuta in there. I think we're going to get Jericho and Moxley though as a holdover until Punk comes back.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, and of course, like you said, pre-pandemic, like Moxley beat Jericho to win the title, and they can play that kind of that story again, where Jericho is now getting a title shot at the title that Moxley is now holding and stuff. I don't mind the idea of that. Like, I'm fine with Jericho versus Moxley for the title. I'm just more my main concern with the whole thing outside of the match just not clicking last night. It's the result for Kingston. Like, that's my big thing.
I will again say it is like Eddie Kingston is a good enough talker to where he can lose these matches and still talk people into the building. That's how good he is. But for fans like us and a lot of AEW fans, we want Eddie Kingston to actually win some of these matches so they don't keep going to the story of like, he just lost. Especially like, all right, you don't want to put the world title on him when he's feuding with Jon Moxley. That's fine. You don't want him to beat CM Punk because you're heating up Punk and he's about to win the title. That's fine too. Like, I understand losses like that. Losing to Chris Jericho, and I guess maybe because Jericho's going on to a world title program, they didn't want Jericho to lose, but maybe don't book Chris Jericho into a world title program if that's going to be your placeholder until CM Punk comes back. Maybe come up with a better solution than that so Eddie Kingston can win this feud.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think we all kind of feel the same way about it. It's like we all see Kingston as, I mean, here's the other thing too. Kingston's got so many years in bumps on him at this point in his career. Like, now is the time. Like, if you're going to do something big with him, like, let's do it. Like, he's proven himself in AEW. He's super over. He's great at everything that he does. It just sucked that last night just didn't work, and I think they're going to try to make up for it. Like, I'm sure that Jericho and Kingston both recognize that it didn't come off how it was supposed to. But once again, I don't want them to just keep going over and over and over through this. But at the same time, like I mentioned, Kingston versus Samby seems kind of like an extension of Kingston versus Jericho. So, like, I feel like this still isn't all over yet. So
yeah, and then if they do Moxley and Jericho, again, extension of Blackpool Combat Club and Jericho Appreciation Society. So we'll just keep running this. I don't know how you go Anarchy in the Arena, Blood and Guts. They need the triple cage that WCW did. That's the next step for these two teams. Do the triple cage. Let Sammy Guevara take a big bump off of the triple
Chris
cage.
Canyon style.
Yeah, well, pat it more than Chris Canyon,
right.
So his career doesn't end. But yeah, just do a big bump off of that, and there you go. That's how you end this feud, everybody. The WCW triple. I don't want that. I don't want the triple cage that they use for the Arquette gimmick. I want the triple cage they used for Mega Powers against Dungeon of Doom. My favorite match of all time. I'll say it. I'll preach it to death. That's my favorite match of all time because it's so stupid and wacky. That's the match that I want. That triple cage.
But for our age at that time when that happened, it was perfect. Yeah, like larger than life characters, cage. Yeah, like I mean, yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm with you 100%.
Other big happening last night, your spotlight from AEW this week, Stephen Jensen, is Jungle Boy returned after being taken out by Christian about a month ago on AEW Dynamite when Christian turned on him. Jungle Boy was back last night. Luchasaurus, who had been aligned with Christian, just stepped aside to let Jungle Boy go after Christian. Christian fled. He peaced out. Jungle Boy stood there, stood tall. Where are you at on Jungle Boy's return? You excited?
Yeah, I like it. I like that he's back. He looks like he might have a little bit more of like an edge to him a little bit too. Like came out kind of in black and like the jacket and stuff. Yeah.
You said
edge. I'm saying like he had. Yeah, no, you know what I say. Yeah, no,
I was saying edging. Yeah,
that's good. I like it. Yeah, okay. He seems to be a little more edgier now, and he's going against Christian. It was funny though last night when like he was chasing Christian like up through the crowd and like he was catching him, and you could tell like Christian was like, "Yo, man, like slow down." But no, I it's good to see Jungle Boy back. He got a big pop. You can tell since the beginning of AEW they've wanted to make him a big single star and push him towards like the main event scene as a singles guy, and this I think is a big step towards that. Like I think this return is going to really help propel him. I can't imagine that he's going to lose the feud to Christian. Like I know you. After everything we just said, but I really feel like Jungle Boy and Christian, they've had planned literally since the day that Christian signed with AEW, and they've been slow burning this. And I apologize if y'all hear the rain. It's raining kind of hard right now where I'm at, and if my internet cuts off, that's why. But yeah, I mean, it was just cool. It was cool to see Jungle Boy back. The Luchasaurus stuff, that's part of the reason why I wanted to make this my spotlight, because that was a little strange, because it's like I like the swerve, because I actually didn't see that coming, where like Luchasaurus has stepped aside to let Jungle Boy after Christian. But part of me is also like, dude, but like all like the nasty stuff you did to other people all these other weeks, like we're just supposed to forgive you because now you've helped create. It was all a big scheme. It was all a big plan, and that's cool. I'm glad you helped Jungle Boy, but like,
if
what
you're
about
going,
the people you left in your wake?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the Varsity Blondes. If you're going
the last 2 weeks, right? He's been like beating people up and stuff for Christian. So
if you're going undercover, you gotta go in deep. Like you gotta play the part when it comes to going undercover. You can't just, if you're an FBI agent, you're going undercover to infiltrate the drug overlords and everything. You might have to shoot a couple people. Like it, unfortunately, that's what you have to do to sell yourself that you're part of this group. So I didn't have too much of an issue with, all right, he took out people for Christian because he was setting up Jungle Boy's return. That I'm fine with. I want to know the point of him going undercover for Christian and doing that, and then like explain when Christian is like, oh, I'll get you, like, remember Marco. Like, what did Christian whisper to him to get him to turn to that point? Like, that's what I need explained more than, oh, okay, why he did all this. Because once you're in, then sure, I understand the point of like laying everybody out. I want to know why he decided I should do this in the first place. Why didn't he just sit there and, take out Christian? Like, what did Christian say to him? And now how does Christian be like, well, now I'm going to do this to you. I'm going to get you fired. Like, that's what I want to know of coming out of this. And for Jungle Boy, I think he has a big promo on his hands, because I don't think Luchasaurus is going to be the one to explain all this. I don't think he's going to be talking or anything. I think Jungle Boy has a big promo on his hand. After everything Christian said about his family, the turn, the 1-year relationship and everything, he's got a big promo coming up. And I don't know if it's going to be in the ring. I don't know if it's going to be head to head with Christian, but I mentioned this when the turn happened, is Christian can run over people on the mic. And I don't think it's his intention, but if you're just not going to be able to keep up with him, he's just going to do it because he's that good on the microphone. He's not going to hold back. He's not going to pull back and make himself look as bad. So Jungle Boy's got a big promo coming up, and I want the stuff explained of what did Christian say to Luchasaurus to get him to the point that he's like, oh, okay, I'll be on your side. And then when Jungle Boy comes back, I will step aside. Like, I worked you. And is there repercussion from Luchasaurus? Or do they just like drop that and it's just like, ha, you got worked, and whatever Christian said doesn't matter and didn't have any bearing on anything? And at that point, again, why did Luchasaurus do it outside of just to work Christian?
Right. No, I'm interested to see how they explain this as well. Like Kai in the chat, I think actually has a pretty good point. It says Luchasaurus was keeping the prey fresh so Jungle Boy could get that first bite, some jungle gimmick stuff. Like that's actually pretty logical reason right there. Actually,
Fine with that.
yeah, I'm fine with an explanation like that. I did like Luchasaurus's turn, like the original turn, like to make him a heel, and I thought that was interesting, and I thought it was a good way to maybe like wean him off of like the mask and maybe make him a little more serious as like not a dinosaur. But I like Luchasaurus in the ring. Like I think that he's very talented, and I like him and Jungle Boy together. Like when Luchasaurus first turned heel, I liked the idea of it, but I was also like, damn, him and Jungle Boy are like a great pair though on the show. Like, it kind of sucks that that's over, but it sounds like it isn't. So yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes. The promo stuff is intriguing too, as you just mentioned, because Christian is fantastic on the mic, especially when he's a heel. Like his heel work on the microphone, the way he's just willing to just go places with people and to get that heat is. It's entertaining to me as a wrestling fan. Jungle Boy on the microphone, I'm glad you brought that up because that's going to be hit or miss, I think. I'd imagine he's been practicing this, and like they know there's a lot riding on his response to Christian when he finally gets on that mic and explains things. But I don't think Jungle Boy is like the best guy on the mic. He comes across like, I don't really know how to explain it. Like almost less emotional than he should be. I don't know if that makes sense, but he kind of like has like a monotone, kind of one tone delivery in how he talks. He seems authentic. Like he talks like how my friends talk to each other. You know what I mean? Like you sound like you just hear someone having like a real conversation the way that he talks. But when Christian's up there talking about the stuff he's talking about with his family and his dad and all this stuff, I feel like Jungle Boy's got to really get some passion out on this and like really. It really has to like bleed through the TV screen. Like the stuff you're saying pisses me off and it isn't cool. And what you did to me isn't cool. And like, I'm coming back to kick your ass. And like, this isn't a joke to me, like, and he's got to sell the fans that he's going to kick Christian Cage's ass when they get in the ring together. And I expect Jungle Boy to win the match, but I also expected Kingston to beat Jericho. So who knows, but I am excited. Like it was good to see Jungle Boy back. He looks good. He's been primed for this kind of push for a long time, and I think this is a big step towards getting him where they want him to be as a singles guy eventually.
Christian on the mic, especially as a heel, like you said, and the way he's been going after families. I mean, he's already referenced Jungle Boy's dad, Luke Perry. He's gonna start just throwing out 90210 references just to pop himself. As well, he's gonna bomb some cars. Like that's how Luke Perry's dad died in the series. He's gonna bring up Brenda Walsh.
Really? Hold on, in 90210, that character died because of a bomb.
Luke Perry's dad in the movie, in the show. That's how it died. His car got bombed, but then he was under like witness protection. I don't remember like the whole thing. I actually like binge watched the show like a few summers ago. But yeah,
like the original from like the 90s you're talking about.
Yeah. I don't give a fuck about the new one or whatever.
My mom loved 90210 when I was growing up. Like she was always watching that kind of stuff. I just never knew much about it. But my mom loved 90210. The only thing I knew about it was that Tiffany Amber Thiessen, Kelly Kapowski wound up on that show after Saved by the Bell. That's all I really knew. Yeah.
Yeah, Dylan McKay, that's who Luke Perry played. His dad died from like a car bombing, but then I think it was like he was under witness protection. Dylan McKay ends up marrying the daughter of the guy who bombed his dad's car, but he didn't know that was his daughter. 90210 is some wild shit. All this is gonna happen. They're gonna turn this whole thing into a 90210 storyline. That's what we need. With Jungle Boy. Anna Jay's going to be involved. Somehow Christian's going to come in and take her. She turned heel last night, so she's not a good person anymore. Christian and Sammy Guevara with Ty Conti and Anna Jay just doing dumb shit on television, making out in front of everybody. Tony Khan's he's just booking 90210 now with this.
That's hilarious. AEW 90210. One also I wanted to bring up real quick.
He loves the 90s. That's all his gimmicks.
Hey, so do I. I respect it. That was just a little like we were both a little too young when that show was originally airing to like. Yeah,
that's why I rewatched it a few summers ago.
That totally makes sense. But I know I just remember when I was younger, my mom, when she would go take me to get haircuts, she would tell like the barber, like, hey, make him look like so-and-so. And she would always point like 90210 characters and be like, how their hair is like this. She would like use that as reference to like how to cut my hair for people. My mom loved that show. But yeah, one other thing I wanted to bring up, just because I don't want people to think that we had forgotten about this or that we weren't going to talk about it. We will talk about Kenny Omega returning once that's a little bit more like happening. But I wanted to throw that out there too. Like, I'm glad that there's talk about Kenny Omega coming back soon. I actually just got this in the mail. Oh. Kenny Omega, 1 of 3,000 AEW shop exclusive. Nice. Good stuff.
Lance Davis says Marco Stunt still at the Peach Pit. That'd be great. Jungle Boy just walks into the Peach Pit. Marco Stunt just hanging out there. Hell yeah!
Oh my god, I love that. Marco got done so dirty, like all the way around. Like, I'll never forgive them for not making an action figure for him. Like when they came out. Listen, I love -1 and Brody Lee. Like, I think it's cool as hell what they're doing for that kid, and he got an action figure. But when I saw that, I was like, you made a -1. You could have easily made a Marco Stunt the same exact way and just thrown it in the because they made a Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus 2-pack.
Yeah. And
they could have easily put a Marco Stunt in there and just didn't. And I always felt like he got just done so dirty because of that. And then the way
Jensen's biggest grudge against AEW is going to be not ever making a Marco Stunt action figure.
It bothered me. And then also, just the way that they kind of like transformed Marco Stunt into Christian Cage, as like a part of the Jurassic Express, was just very strange to me too, where it was like, are we just all gonna forget that Marco was doing this? And now and I like that it's been brought up more recently, like Christian finally brought it up and stuff. But I like Marco, I was a big fan of him on the indies, and he did a lot for like the Nashville wrestling scene and stuff when I was living there. So like I like Marco a lot on like a personal level, and I really respect where he's got in the wrestling world. But yeah, anyway, that's always going to bother me, because I remember Jeremy Padawer from Jazzwares was tweeting out teasers the day before that Jurassic Express 2-pack got dropped, and it was like dinosaur and like Jurassic Park type stuff he was tweeting, and everyone was like, Jurassic Express 3-pack? Like, okay. And then like I was sitting there, they said what time it was going to drop the next day. So I was sitting there on my computer, hitting the refresh button, waiting for it to pop up on Ringside Collectibles, hitting refresh, pops up, Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus 2-pack. And I was like, where's Marco? And then I went on Twitter, and Marco was like,
where's Marco?
And Marco even was like, oh man. Like, cause like Marco thought it was going to be him too. Like, so he was like, oh man, like I'm not even in it. Like, I was like, damn. Because I already had Luchasaurus and a Jungle Boy from the regular series. So
what's Marco Stunt up to? Let's get Marco Stunt on the show just to talk about him not getting an action figure.
You want to try to get Marco on the show? I'll message Marco.
Yeah,
we'll try to get Marco.
I didn't care about an AEW run. Just like, why didn't you get an action figure? That's what we really want to know.
I'm sure he'd like to talk about that.
Yeah. We're going to move on to the WWE spotlight, everybody.
You want to be a professional wrestler, or do you want to be a WWE superstar? WWE superstar sounds a whole lot better to me than being a professional wrestler.
I love your reaction to it every time I play it. I did it because it just pops me, and I knew it would just be like, oh god, this asshole. WWE maybe not going TV-14. Andrew Zarian of Mattman said that July 18th, it was supposed to be the start of it. A memo got sent out by USA. Apparently they jumped the gun on it because it didn't happen. Then yesterday in the afternoon, Peacock listed SummerSlam as TV-14, but by the evening, SummerSlam was back to TV PG. Jensen, what are your thoughts if WWE actually goes through with TV-14?
I don't anticipate much change regardless. I feel like they kind of tested the waters on something similar when they started Raw Underground a couple years ago, from the perspective of like, it was like only during the 9 to 10 hour, the 10 to 11 hour, the third hour of Raw, Eastern time. But there was the idea of like Underground Fight Club, real fights, not sports entertainment, real fights. And this is for like the 18 to 49, late at night, third hour of Raw, Fight Club. And that just that just didn't work. That would just, and then they just, it was like a fever dream where they were just never mentioned it again. And we're just, now they've all been repackaged to different characters and stuff. And a lot of more.
Yeah, the Commander Aziz was ripping off dicks. That was when he was great.
He was. Probably the biggest thing I've ever tweeted, I think, off of my account was I edited together a Raw Underground tribute video the day that it was announced that it was done. And I clipped together like all the corny shit from Raw Underground and like I'll send you a link. Yeah, I did it to the song Leave the Memories Alone from like Ric Flair's retirement.
Great. Yeah.
I spliced in a lot of that was sick from Shane McMahon like throughout it and stuff. I'll send you the link. But that's every October since I retweet that video, and it's like so I was very much in tune to what was going on in Raw Underground. As far as like the TV-14 though, it's like I mean, it gives them a little more leeway to do certain stuff. Like, I think Cody will probably bleed in big matches. Maybe the language will get a little bit more.
They're going to say bitch
risky.
More.
Well, so this kind of ties in with like my thing with Veer, because my spotlight is Veer this week, saying boo. And because it's funny because I didn't see anything on Raw. I didn't watch anything that had to do with Raw on Monday. But I saw that on my timeline. And I was like, right when I saw it, I clicked it and immediately, Jeremy, this is my spotlight.
Stephen Jensen's booking Veer against Stu Grayson to headline WrestleMania.
Okay, so not ironically, I could see Stu Grayson and Madcap Moss one day though, but not Veer. So, but if they're gonna go like maybe this is the gimmick. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is how we get PG. Maybe Veer just started with the boo, right? Like he just boo, and then he starts laughing at himself. But like next week he's like, bah. And then like the next week he's like,
did someone do that already?
I don't know. And then the next week he's like crud. And then the next week he's like, darn. And then like by the time we get like 2 months out, he's like, shit. And then they're like, TV-14, he said shit. You know what I mean? Like, like I don't know. They'll
get Ron Simmons. They'll get a Ron Simmons cameo. Like Veer's about to say something, and Ron Simmons says, "Damn," and then Veer just looks at him, maybe kick the shit out of him. I like this. I'm all for this gimmick. I love it.
He just keeps laughing at himself after he says it. Like that was part of the thing that was so funny to me about the Veer stuff was like he just says boo. And then like there's no response. And then he just starts laughing at himself. And I was like, who's this for? Like how does this help anybody? But I also said, I don't know if I said it on this show or other podcasts I had done, but I definitely had talked about before, like during when all the Veer is coming, like the Veer is coming, like type of where we all cross-eyed and
pissed off. I got Jim Cornette pissed off with that headline.
Yeah. Like when they were doing that, I was like, I guarantee you, within short months, it'll be just like the Funkasaurus or something like that, where like they will make this so goofy and comedy based. And on Monday, that's pretty much what it looks like it's heading towards. Like, who just says one word that makes no sense? They just starts laughing at themselves.
So he did an interview with the Daily Star. And he's like, we're showing different sides of the Veer character. Everyone see me be an ass kicker and be a beast and be mean. Now we're showing different sides. And he basically said, let it play out, which rules because they have no actual direction for it. But let it play out, Stephen Jensen. Maybe it is going to where he says shit. And Veer ushers in the TV-14 era. And he's the man who brings it back to prominence in the WWE. I don't think the TV-14 means anything. I think there's hesitancy because you slap that rating on there, and then even if your product doesn't change a lot, and I don't foresee WWE changing their product a lot. Maybe they drop a shit every now and again. Yeah, maybe Cody bleeds a little bit more. Otherwise, like they ain't changing. They ain't going back to the Attitude Era. Okay, they're not doing all of that. So I wouldn't get your hopes up for any of that. But they slapped the TV-14 on there to maybe attract more teenagers and a little bit of an older demographic. But that might hurt when it comes to the parents being like, well, I'm not going to let my kids watch this. It's TV-14. So they got to like balance making an edgier product, but still like maintaining a PG rating. So I think people know this. Like when it comes to rated R and rated PG-13 movies, like in a PG-13, okay, when a PG-13 movie, you can say fuck. You get one fuck in a PG-13 movie. It's, you know, that second one that boosts you to an R. So WWE is basically balancing, like, do we want to add that second fuck that's going to bring us from PG-13 to an R? Do we want to add that first shit that's going to bring us from PG to TV-14? Like, that's what they're trying to balance, is like, it's not really going to change anything we do, but do we want to be able to say shit? And how is that going to affect the rest of us? Because there's a difference in fan base. There's a difference in moviegoers from PG-13 to rated R. There's an audience difference there. Even if you're only saying one extra fuck, your whole movie's the same, but do you want to add that just to attract a different fan base? So do they want to add shit to attract a different fan base? And that's what they got to figure out.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of like 20 years ago in South Park. There was a big deal because they were the first TV show to say shit on cable.
There, shitty, shitty, bang, bang, shitty, bang, bang. How do you do?
There you go. Yes. But it was so funny because like within the show, they said it like 140 times or however many times they said it. But like within the show, like the whole episode was based around there was going to be a TV show that was going to say shit, and it was like this big deal because it was so meta because South Park was actually doing that on the show as you were watching it. And it was the first TV show to really do that. And I'll never forget how it was so built up. And this reminds me of kind of like with Raw right now, because when they're watching it on South Park and they're waiting for someone to say shit finally on their TV screen, they're all anticipated about it. Guys like eating a sandwich or something, and like the other guy's like, hey man, you got a little shit on your mouth. Like that's all it was, you know, like I'm almost like expecting that for WWE. We're waiting for like this big, like Veer just says shit in the microphone, and you see like the little rating in like the corner of the screen change from PG to TV-14. Like, I don't know.
Veer's gonna say microb. That was the word that was like one of the microb. Or that was Kyle or. Dude, that was the South Park episode. There's like the 8 curse words, and microb was one of them.
Right.
Kyle's got sand in his vagina.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. The show is still funny to me. Like those
streaming stuff that's on.
The Paramount Plus. I was trying to think of the streaming service. I have so many streaming services now. I can't remember what's on what. But yeah. So TV-14 for WWE. I'd like it to make the product a little more geared towards me. That'd be cool personally. But I just don't really have high expectations for how they're going to execute this or how far they'll really go with any of this, because they do have to balance. I mean, they do want their kid audience still coming in, and you know, I think signing people like Logan Paul and extending guys like Pat McAfee, like that's showing that they want more 18 to 49, because those are signings to me specifically for that kind of age demo. But I don't know how much it'll change the overall product. The unfortunate thing is, regardless of the rating, I don't think it could be rated R, it could be rated whatever. But at the end of the day, like the writing's got to get way better. They got to stop doing DQ finishes all show. I mean, my point is the problems that I have with WWE and why I don't watch the show but once a month on pay-per-view or premium live event is you know, none of those problems necessarily are going to get fixed just because the rating has changed. Like they have a lot of things they need to change, and the rating maybe gives them a little more leeway, but I don't think that like it's just going to be a switch overnight and like the show just gets great, like just because the rating has changed. Like like I said, maybe you hear the word shit every now and then, maybe someone bleeds a little bit more every now and then, but outside of that, I expect it to be pretty par for the course out of what we got for the last 10 years or whatever.
I completely agree. I don't think anything's really going to change. And that's why I said that they just have to determine, is the TV-14 worth it to, based on the rating, try to attract a different audience, but not actually really changing their product to really cater to that audience that wants the TV-14 product. So we will see. SummerSlam as of right now, I believe, is TV PG. I mean, I'll look this up right now. As of last night, like I looked it up during Dynamite because I had to change the article that I wrote, but it was TVPG as of last night. On the Veer stuff, that was your spotlight, which popped me. I think I said it last week of just like, I unfortunately have to force you to watch like some WWE stuff or talk about some WWE stuff, but it always pops me when you're just like, saw Shanky dancing. I'd like to talk about that. Saw Veer saying boo. I'd like to talk about that.
Well, speaking of that, is Shanky still doing that? Like, has that worked out for him at all? I've literally no idea since the first time I saw him do it.
I did a run-in on the Dynamite post show last night, and Sean was giving me shit about like taking Fridays off because I used to do the SmackDown post show with Sean, and then I became a family man, and I was like, well, I kind of need like Friday nights. I don't want to be on until 11 o'clock talking about wrestling, and it really like past midnight because Dynamite or Rampage doesn't end until 11. Like, right. I don't want to do this. So he was giving me shit about taking Fridays off. He's like, you don't cover SmackDown anymore. You don't cover anything anymore. I was like, I don't even watch SmackDown anymore unless I'm told to like, hey, watch this kind of thing. Like, I didn't have to cover SmackDown the other week. I have not seen Shanky. I don't know if he's still dancing or not. But my original spotlight for WWE before I decided, let's talk about like the TV-14 stuff. I'm trying to pull it up in the DMs, but my computer is acting very slow. A SummerSlam, by the way, is TVPG as of now. And my original spotlight for WWE was Jeff Jarrett as a special guest referee. And we'll talk about Jarrett a little bit later on. But yeah, like WWE ain't much interesting going on in that company right now. Biggest party of the summer. Biggest party of the summer is next week. Everybody get ready for that.
Yep, not with Cody out. It's unfortunate. I would have went to Nashville for SummerSlam if Cody was on the show. Obviously I understand why he isn't, but yeah, it's weak. Kai, I don't know what you're talking about. I bet Steven is a Maxim.
Oh, Maxim male. That's some shit.
Well, no, I know what that is because we talked about it, right? Didn't we talk about that one week?
I think we talked about Maxim male.
I talked about it with somebody over the past week. Somebody told me what it was. Like there was a. They did.
It's
like
LA Knight. It's Eli Drake. He's Maxine Dupree.
But isn't it like Mace is like one of the models or something?
Marseille and Mansoir.
Oh,
right. That's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, that's the most we're going to talk about that. Kai, I am not on
next week. That's my spotlight. Maxine Dupree debuts this week. That's going to be my spotlight next week for WWE because fuck knows nothing else is going to happen in this company. Let's move on to the indie spotlight, Stephen Jensen.
I'm going to give a big motherfucking shout out.
I actually meant to go other spotlight. I fucked up the order there. We'll go with indie spotlight. But before we go to the indie spotlight, because we're gonna talk about Ric Flair's last match on the indie spotlight, and Ric Flair's last match is July 31st. It's part of Starrcade weekend, and we have a run-in from Sean Ross Sapp to tell you all about Starrcast weekend.
If you're here, you like pro wrestling, and Starrcast 5 is capped off with an incredible card for Ric Flair's last match on July 31st. And that's after the actual convention on July 29th, 30th, and the 31st in Nashville, Tennessee at the Nashville Fairgrounds. But listen to this list of talent. Josh Alexander, Jacob Fatu, Motor City Machine Guns, The Wolves, Rachel Ellering, Deonna Purrazzo, Jordan Grace, Killer Cross, Harry Smith, Ray Phoenix, Bandito, Clark Connors, Laredo Kid. That's before we even get to the Nature Boy Ric Flair's final match on Sunday night. That's SummerSlam weekend. Panel shows also include Renee Paquette Sessions featuring Bryan Danielson, Saraya turning the page, The Last Ride of the Four Horsemen, and Bret Hart taking a look at his match with Davey Boy Smith at SummerSlam 30 years later. If you're going to be in Nashville, head to Starrcast.com for more information on Starrcast tickets, meet and greets, and last match tickets. But if you're not there, you don't have to miss it. Head to RicFlairsLastMatch.com to pre-order the event. Watch the incredible docuseries, Ric Flair, The Last Match, with new episodes dropping every Monday at 6:05 p.m. If you're there, there's going to be tons of signings, tons of activities. You're going to see talent from MLW, AAA, Impact, New Japan, AEW, and so much more. Starrcast 5 in Nashville.
everyone can head over to Fight TV. They have big bundles. You can get all the StarCast panels. You can get Ric Flair's last match bundle, like $200 for the last match bundle, but you get a plaque with that as well. Get the StarCast bundles with the roast of Ric Flair, the stage show with Chris Van Vliet and Claudio, the stage show with Bryan Danielson, Renee Paquette, reuniting, stage show with Bret Hart. A lot of stuff going on StarCast weekend. Next week, we'll have a bunch of coverage of it on Fightful. We'll cover, obviously, Ric Flair's last match. We'll cover all the indie events. I'm sure Stephen Jensen and I will talk about a lot of stuff coming out of that on the preceding week's spotlight. And I'll be covering a lot of the stage shows and interviews because I'm sure Paige and Claudio and Danielson, especially Danielson, will give me plenty of headlines to write about. So we'll have coverage of all the StarCast stuff next week, everybody. But everybody head over to Fight TV to order that stuff. Ric Flair's last match, July 31st, Stephen Jensen. It's Flair and Andrade, his son-in-law, against Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett, the star of StarCast Weekend Wrestling and the main event of the weekend, officiating the title match, the WWE Tag Team title match at SummerSlam. What do you make of this being Ric Flair's last match, Jensen?
I have mixed feelings on it for a variety of reasons. Safety-wise and health-wise, it's a little concerning, but yeah. I also, it's just one of those things. Like, if he's got his mindset that he's going to do this, and no one close to him feels like they need to stop him from doing it, like, who am I to say he can't? It's just I'm probably overly liberal when it comes to like most things, like especially when it comes to like just people wanting to live their life the way they want to, and like. If you're, 80 years old and you got pacemakers and you've had health issues and stuff like that, but like you feel like you got to get one more out of your system before you hang it up for good. Like I'm not going to sit here and say he's not allowed to do something like this. I will say they need to be very careful about it, and I'm sure they are. And I don't want to see anything bad happen. I'm not one of these people who's sitting there like licking my lips, being like, oh, I hope Ric Flair dies in a match like this. You get what he deserves. Like I see a lot of talk like that online. People that are like, that's yeah, well, but you know what I'm talking about? That kind of talk where it's like the people who don't like Ric Flair for a variety of reasons, they think it's a bad idea is doing this. They're just like, well, you're just gonna die in the ring out there, and like it just is what it is. And like I have more sympathy than that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to see this guy get hurt. I don't want to see him die, obviously. Like, I don't want to be a part of any of that as a fan or as a human being. Like, it's tough to see this because the double-edged sword to this, too, is if this goes okay, that there's no way this is the last time Flair is going to do it. Like, he's going to keep doing this. This won't be the last match if it goes okay. Now, I will say this. The opponent choices, while not incredibly exciting to me personally, it's smart because Jay Lethal's been training with Rick. He probably knows exactly what he's capable of and what he isn't capable of. They've probably practiced the match many times already and not in front of fans. So they probably, this is probably the safest way they could do it. But I'm going to be holding my breath when Ric Flair goes to the top rope to take the bump off the top and stuff, because he's going to, and that guy's got pacemakers and he's had health issues and he's of very old age, and it's concerning for a lot of reasons. The rest of the show is stacked. They've done a very good job about like putting a really good card around that match. Last
night they added Gresham, Takeshita, Alan Angels, and Nick Wayne in a 4-way match. That match looks like it's awesome. Cool.
So like they've done a good job of like putting a good card together. And once again, I'm not sitting here saying like Ric Flair shouldn't do this. I'm not Ric Flair. I don't make those decisions for him. Like if he wants to do this, he can do this. I just hope it goes okay because I don't want to see something bad happen. Whether I love Ric Flair as a human being or not, or whether you do either, or whoever is listening to this, whether you think Ric Flair is the biggest piece of trash that's ever lived, as a wrestling fan, do you really want to see a situation where Ric Flair goes out there, something really bad happens to him in the ring? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just kind of wish none of this was happening. And that Ric Flair could just be like content and satisfied with his life and his career and just kind of like, because he's still, what people don't realize, because he's around Atlanta a lot, when he goes to like a Hawks game and stuff, like he's like a king. Like people love him still when he's out and about in the town and stuff like that. Like, I mean, like he could go out and do he does autograph signings and stuff and he gets paid a ton of money. Like he's got like some stuff going for him where he can still be kind of involved at his age and still give back to the fans and get that love from the fan base and stuff. But like, you know, him and Andrade teaming together, that's kind of cool considering their family now and stuff. But like, it's also a little concerning too that, like, you know, you'd imagine that Ric Flair's final match would be a singles match because he wasn't really a tag team guy. And like, if he's not capable of doing a singles match, that's probably why it's a tag team, because Andrade, I'm sure, will take the majority of the bumps for his team. So I guess at the end of the day, I'm indifferent about it. Like, you know, I just don't want to see anything bad happen to Ric Flair at the end of the day during this.
I think part of the issue is you mentioned that he still goes out and he's still Ric Flair. And that's sort of the issue, is he's still
Right.
Ric Flair. And so he just thinks, well, I'm going to do this last match here. Like, I'm still the nature boy. I think he knows some of his limitations, and that's why it's a tag team match. And he's not going to go out there and try to have like any type of classic. I imagine Andrade and Lethal are going to be doing the majority of this match. Flair's going to go out there and he's going to play the hits. You can do some chops and some woos and some Flair flops. And yeah, he's going to go the top rope. That's going to be very scary. He'll probably blade. He bled in the video thing where he got attacked, which I don't know about all that. The pacemaker, look, the card is great. I said it before that I'm not big on just like celebrating Ric Flair after everything that happened. And then he didn't really answer for it. He just kind of like, we'll push it to the side for a little bit. And then now, hey, Ric Flair's back. Let's do this big celebration of him. Not exactly a big fan of that. Still going to tune in. Still going to cover it. It is part of my job.
And WWE just put him back in the intro, right? So like,
yeah, and he was, very thankful. Again, it was, they pushed it aside. People forgot other stuff happened, bigger stuff. And then he got put back in the intro. Titus O'Neil came out and cut a promo and said, Ric Flair is a great person and everything was all good in the world of Ric Flair. And I'm not big on celebrating the guy, but there's a lot of interest in the match. I think the Lethal and Andrade portions will be good. Jeff Jarrett, bless this man, getting this payday out of all of this. I hope everybody is safe. I hope it goes well. I don't know what they have planned. I don't want to see any type of death. And that is all I'm going to say about this match.
Yep. Yeah, that's fair. You know, and Jeff Jarrett, it makes sense and it doesn't, right? It's like, I don't feel like Flair ever really saw Jeff Jarrett as like on his level during their career. That was always the vibe I got.
No, absolutely not.
I mean, he was the unofficial Four Horsemen member and everything. And it's like, but at least there is that history between the two of them for this match to kind of make sense. And like Jarrett in Nashville is, you know, he's always a draw in Nashville and stuff. And so it's just one of those things where like, you know, I just don't want to see anything bad happen to anybody involved in this. And luckily the rest of the card looks really good. So it's one of those things where I don't want to turn people off from the idea of watching the show or supporting the show. Like, I really think you should check it out if you're a wrestling fan. I think there's going to be a lot of really good wrestling, and Nashville Municipal Auditorium's a really cool venue. I've been there before myself, and like, it's going to be a good show.
I think my positive spin on this, even though I'm not high on Ric Flair doing this match or him just getting this entire weekend in general, my positive spin is going to be that people are excited for this show. At this point, it has almost more hype than SummerSlam. And there are a lot of good wrestlers on this card that are getting paid and can hopefully showcase themselves and hopefully parlay this into bigger paydays. So I am happy for the other wrestlers involved who are part of a big event. I mean, look, I might have my gripes with it, but it was such a big hit that they had to move it to a bigger arena. Like, it was just going to be at Fairgrounds at first. So like, oh, we can run Municipal Auditorium because there was so much interest in this thing. So a lot of wrestlers are getting paid off of this. A lot of wrestlers are going to be in the spotlight off of this. And I think that is a very good thing for them and for the industry as a whole, even if I'm not too keen on what the actual last match is and who is participating in it.
Sure. Real quick before the next topic, over under. I don't know if over under is good. Give me a percentage. If this match goes okay and Rick, you know, gets through it, right? We'll say like he gets through it without like serious injury and stuff. What's the percentage he wrestles again?
I don't think he will. I actually don't. Like, they've made such a big deal out of this. And I think,
dude, they made a big deal out of the WWE retirement too, though. Like,
yeah, but you know, that was also like, shit, at this point, it feels like 2 decades ago.
Yeah. I know, but,
like you're right. They did make a big deal out of that as well. And then he wrestled in TNA.
And they did the Hogan tour where they just bled over each other in Australia. Yeah.
Right. So, but I don't think, well, I'm not going to say never because like WWE could call him back and be like, hey, yeah, we want Ric Flair to win the match. I'll go 10% that this is, or I guess 90% that this is like his final match, 10% that he wrestles again. Cause I do think there's a chance. And I do think it's like greater than, obviously if I'm putting it at 10%, I think it's like fairly decent. But for the most part, I think this is kind of it for him.
That's fair.
How about you?
Oh, I think if he gets through this without any serious injury, it's like 80% he does it again. I think, yeah. So
that rules. My indie spotlight is another problematic person, Tessa Blanchard. Comes back.
Good transition
to wrestling. Yeah, I'm a pro. I'm a pro, Stephen Jensen. Tessa Blanchard is back. She returned at Hurricane Pro Wrestling. She's going to be at Warrior Wrestling as well. She is not part of Women of Wrestling. I wanted to spotlight this because one, we were talking about just problematic people. Thought it fit well with this, but Tessa Blanchard, at the time when she won, I guess before she won the Impact World title, because like the day before she won the title, all the stuff came out about her. She kind of tweeted herself into a corner. And then everything since then has been very downhill for her. Before that, she did feel like one of the biggest stars in wrestling. Like when she was wrestling with the men, it felt like, oh yeah, Tessa Blanchard, like this is believable. Like she feels like a top act. And now she's been gone for nearly like 2 years. She's coming back on some indie shows. I don't think she's ever going to get like a big time job at this point. Like I think if it would have happened, it would have happened.
Right.
And now she's back. And I think she's just kind of ruined things for her. Like the WoW stuff where she was like the face of that organization. And now she's not part of the organization, kind of speaks to where she's at as a whole in wrestling right now. And I don't know if she ever gets back to a point of where we look at Tessa Blanchard and we're just like, hey, everything's good with her. She's one of the top acts. She's one of the top stars. And that maybe that says a lot because as we just talked about, there's a lot of forgive and forget in the world of wrestling.
Yeah, for sure. The thing when it comes to someone like Tessa, this may be a character flaw of mine. I give a lot of people the benefit of the doubt, probably more than I should, because I really have a lot of trust in like people, like when it comes to a lot of stuff. But I also there's a lot of bad in a lot of people too, and I gotta like kind of be able to filter that out. But I do sympathize a lot to a lot of people and try to look at both sides of things and like you know what I mean. But when you look at Tessa, let's take the the racist stuff out of it that like she's been accused of saying. Even if you take that out of it, look at just professionally. At a certain point, you're like, who's the problem? Is it Tessa or all the companies she has fallings out with? You know what I mean? It's like everywhere she works, it ends like that. Where like Impact, she wouldn't send the title back and like do promos for them and all this stuff. When she was the world champion, they put the world championship on a female, which was a historic thing in a kind of to a degree a big risk because there's a big part of the fan base is going to see that and they're going to be misogynistic and be like, this is stupid. I'm not going to watch this. Like, I'm not one of those people. You're not one of those people, but those people do exist. And it's one of those things where like they invested a lot in her as the champion and had her beat most of their top wrestlers, their top male wrestlers and female wrestlers. And they really, and I thought when she won the title, it made sense. It was like, this works. Like I'll say this in all honesty, I thought that Tessa Blanchard was the best female wrestler in the world at that time. Like I really did. And she was making an argument for one of the best overall, regardless of gender at the time. She really was. So that on that side, it's disappointing as a fan that like, it's almost like having like a Michael Jordan type figure where it's like this person's changing the game, but like Tessa, actually a better example would be someone like Randy Moss, kind of, where like Randy Moss was a bad teammate. He was an asshole. He didn't try when the ball wasn't coming to him, but he was so talented that you were just like, well, fuck it. Like he's when the ball comes to him, like he's so good that like I'll take all the negative because that one positive thing outweighs it. With Tessa, it's like falling out with company after company. Already people are going to be skeptical of wanting to work with you. And then you add the accusations on top of that, the things she said about other wrestlers in the past and the racism and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, it's tough to want to. It's tough. It's a tough decision for a company to make to do business with her, whether it has to do with personally or professionally. Like it is what it is. It's disappointing that such a talented person is not being featured because she should be wrestling Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair on national television, and she should be wrestling Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb on national television and Jordan Grace on national television, all this stuff. But like, I understand why companies don't want to deal with that. I get it. And it makes sense. And I think there would be a lot of backlash from the fan base if big companies were giving her opportunities right now, because I think I could be wrong, but I feel like a big sticking point with Tessa and the fan base, a lot of it has to do with there hasn't been any kind of apologizing for any of this.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the fans are just like, and at this point, it's been too long. Even if she apologized now, it feels like she's waited too long. And now it's going to come across like, well, she's only apologizing because now she has no options. She's not affiliated with any company. And now she's trying to make good to get back in the game. But I understand companies not wanting to do business with her for a variety of reasons. I get it.
Remorse, actual remorse goes a long way, and action behind that remorse goes an even longer way. And she just basically disappeared, tried to come back with WoW, burnt the bridge there seemingly, and now she's just doing anything. And you're right. Like, look, we're not dismissing the racist comments that she allegedly made. I don't think you can dismiss that, especially the way she handled everything afterwards off of that. But if you do just kind of set them aside and you just look at her history from company to company, that ain't good in and of itself. You throw on everything else, you throw on those comments, and it's even worse. So she doesn't, outside of just being a talented wrestler, which she is, not a lot going on for her behind the scenes. Yeah, it's not worth the trouble, not worth the PR hit. It's not worth it. I don't think any company does it until WWE maybe gets desperate enough to do it, and then she doesn't boost any type of ratings, because I don't think anybody right now is this big draw, especially WWE, to like bring in. They brought in Logan Paul, and he ain't really like YouTube views and stuff, I'm sure, are great for them, but ain't moving like the Raw ratings or anything. So Tessa Blanchard certainly coming in ain't bumping that Raw rating or that SmackDown rating up at all. They've tried much bigger stars from much bigger walks of the world, and they ain't doing anything to the actual television rating. Tessa, maybe they bump a social media thing, but is it worth it? Absolutely not. At the end of the day, does Vince care about that? Probably not either. But she's back. Best of luck to any company working with her. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that as well.
Yeah. We're going to move on to our final spotlight. The other spotlight.
Our product is what it is. We're going straight up the middle.
We're going straight up the middle with ROH Death Before Dishonor this weekend. Two big matches, a lot of big matches, especially FTR and Briscoes. We actually don't have a spotlight on that, but that
we'll
might
probably talk about it next week though.
Like, I'm sure. That'll probably be one of our other spotlight, because that could, be the match of the year when it's all said and done. But our two matches that we have spotlighted is Claudio Castagnoli taking on Jonathan Gresham for the ROH World Championship as Claudio goes for gold, and Daniel Garcia against Wheeler Yuta for the Peer Championship. Jensen, thoughts on really both these matches? We'll tie them together.
Sure. So when it comes to Wheeler Yuta and Daniel Garcia, I love that the world is going to really get to see this, because for those of you who don't know, and I would recommend checking it out, you can go on independentwrestling.tv right now or IWTV.live. You can use code Fight Talk, by the way. That helps me out when you use that code, FIGHTTALK. IWTV 100, which was, I guess, over a year ago already now.
Yeah, like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, probably that sounds about right. At IWTV 100, Wheeler Yuta and Daniel Garcia had a fantastic hour-long match. And I actually awarded it as my favorite match of the year that year of any company. I think that was like, I know for the Weekender at the very least, for the stuff that I cover on that show, that was my match of the year. when I did my year-end awards. And I just love that it's going to be on a bigger stage. And I love because the card is so stacked on paper that like this kind of feels like a dark horse like on the card. And I think that they're going to go out there to prove like that. Let me put it this way. I think they're going to go in there with kind of a chip on their shoulder. Like everyone's talking about Claudio. Everyone's talking about Gresham. Everyone's talking about Joe and Lethal. Everyone's talking about FTR and Briscoes. Everyone's talking about Deeb and Mercedes, so on and so forth. It's like, we're going to show them why like we're the best match on this show. And I think they're going to really go out and show out. And I think by the end of the show, like I think FTR and Briscoes will probably be the match of the night, given the history and the 2 out of 3 falls and everything. But I honestly think that Wheeler Yuta and Daniel Garcia is going to give them a run for their money. I think it'll be the second best match in the show to that tag match. I think they're going to really show a lot of people why they're so highly regarded and why they were so highly wanted coming out of the indies and everything. Like this is a real showcase match, I think, for both guys. And I think they're going to really hit it out of the park. And for prediction, it's tough because I like Yuta as the pure champion. And I think it makes sense with him as the pure champion in the Combat Club and Moxley having the interim AEW title. And maybe they add some more belts to that group soon. But I also think there's a lot of interest in the idea of like Daniel Garcia winning the pure title and then trying to turn it into like a sports entertainment title or something. Like, like him having that title in the Jericho Appreciation Society can make it interesting. So personally, I'm actually going to take Daniel Garcia to win. I just have a gut feeling about it, but like, I love that matchup. Give me your thoughts on that one. Then we'll talk about the main event.
I really
what I think is going to be the main event, I guess.
Yeah,
the world title
I think
match.
it'll headline. Yeah, I think it'll headline as well. I really love this match. I love the little countdown thing that they did, and they did the face off of Daniel Garcia. Anytime someone's like, I got that dog in me. I love that fucking comment because it's big on like NBA Twitter. It's like, you just got that dog in him. He's like, you got that dog in you, like I got in me. So I love that from Garcia. I feel like Garcia should win. Like, I get the point of doing like a sports entertainment type title. I don't know if I think Tony Khan sort of respects ROH too much to like sort of do something like that. And I think Garcia, his role, like this is where it gets weird blending the ROH stuff with the AEW stuff, because I do think the build up to this show, like I know they haven't had their own television, so it's had to blend with AEW television, but it's hurt some of the AEW television with the way they've had to do all of this. They've done a good job with this storyline because of the Blackpool Combat Club, Jericho Appreciation Society stuff. I still think they could have done more. Like Claudio and Gresham has just been like, here's Claudio, here's Gresham, here we go. This is your match. But I understand that sentiment. I think it could just work as like Daniel Garcia just has the title and he's like, I'm a sports entertainer and I'm holding this pure title. Like I'm the best sports entertainer and I'm the best pure wrestler in the world. Like, I think that's how they play it more than just like doing a sports entertainment championship. I think Garcia should win. I kind of think Yuta will win though. I think Garcia sort of has more upside than Wheeler Yuta. And that's not a knock on Yuta at all. I'm just a little bit higher on Daniel Garcia.
Sure. I think that's fair. And also I think it's possible too, that maybe like Yuta and Garcia, maybe they just, there's so much mutual respect between the two after a match like this that maybe it starts, because I still think Daniel Garcia joining the Blackpool Combat Club is like going to happen at some point. Like he makes too much sense to be in that group. And now with Guevara adding to the JAS, like it would kind of make sense for now to be a good time for Garcia to defect maybe. And maybe this is a catalyst for that. Like the two of them just have this great match. And by the end of it, like, even though the Combat Club and JAS have had their differences, like Yuta is looking Garcia in the eyes after the match and being like, you're the real, like, you're one of us, man. Like, what are you doing with this appreciation stuff? And like, maybe Mox and Danielson come out and like shake his hand or something. They're like, dude, you're with the wrong group. Like, just like Yuta was in the wrong group with the Best Friends, you're in the wrong group with the JAS. Like, you got to get over to us and we're going to change your life and your career, man. And then as far as the main event, or we're assuming will be the main event, because Briscoe's FTR could main event.
It could. It really could.
But so Claudio Castagnoli versus Jonathan Gresham, ROH World Title. I mean, I love the matchup on paper. The build was kind of out of left field. It felt like you said, it's just kind of like, here's Claudio, world title match. But like, you know, at least he has the history in Ring of Honor. And I thought it was interesting. He did an interview. I'm sure you probably transcribed for it, but I saw he quoted something about how like every time he's left a company is because he feels like there's not a higher level he can get to. And ironically, like he left Ring of Honor for that reason. And now that's what brought him right back to Ring of Honor after all these years. Because now he's like, he get, you know, quick prediction though. I do think Claudio Castagnoli is going to win the ROH world title. I like Jonathan Gresham a lot. I would like to see him retain, but I also feel like they're going to really go with Claudio. And especially if Yuta retains the pure title and now Claudio has the world title and Moxley has the AEW interim title. Like if the Blackpool Combat Club can start collecting belts over multiple companies, that's interesting to me also. But I don't know. I Gresham means so much to Ring of Honor. He really carried that brand on his back for a long time, whether being the pure champion or the world champion. So on certain levels, I'm like, man, I think this would be great for Gresham to win because, you know, it's a big win beating a guy like Claudio and it even more legitimizes Ring of Honor and legitimizes Gresham. But I just don't see Claudio losing. What about you?
See, I don't really see him losing either. And I think that would be a mistake because I think Gresham should hold the title. I just don't want like Gresham is an ROH guy. I know the two brands are connected, especially right now with it being on television. I don't want just this being all AEW guys and they're also on AEW television. There needs to be, and it probably won't happen until ROH has its own TV show. If and when that happens, there needs to be some separation between this stuff. And Claudio feels very much AEW and Gresham feels very much ROH. And I want Gresham to continue on with that title and like have some differentiation. I don't know if I said that word well, like differentiate the two brands. And Gresham having the title does do that because he doesn't feel like an AEW guy. Claudio, he's going to be on AEW TV every single week. I want Gresham to win. I want Gresham to kind of like beat the ROH original type guys. Have him beat Claudio. Whenever, like, have him face Punk. But see, they're not going to have him beat like Punk and Brian. Brian will probably refuse to lose or refuse to win anyway. So that's why Brian's the GOAT. But like, have him beat Brian. Have him beat Joe. Like, have him beat these ROH guys and really plant like, I'm the new face of ROH. Like, I'm taking out all your favorites who are now washed and past their prime. And you don't have to say that because then it makes your win look a little bit weaker. It's like, you know, I'm the new face of this brand. That's what I want. I don't want Claudio winning this match, but I kind of think he will.
I wonder also if this is more of a placeholder where like maybe this was supposed to be Danielson and Gresham and then Danielson got hurt. You know, maybe maybe Gresham does retain and they still wind up doing Danielson and Gresham for the title long term. I mean, that's what I wanted to see ever since Danielson left the WWE. Like that's like the main match for me pretty much. I mean, him and Omega was one as well, but like Danielson versus Gresham is like I want it for the Ring of Honor world title specifically. So I did like my gut is just that Claudio's going to win, but like you said, I think it like personally speaking, I think it'd be great to see Gresham beat Claudio and keep this title. And, you know, the last thing I'll say, because I got to get out and clock in for the shoot job in a second, but I talked about this with Doug on Live Rounds on Tuesday, but I think it'd probably be smart if they did like, instead of doing AEW Dark and Dark Elevation, like start taping like Ring of Honor instead of Dark. And even if you want to have that on YouTube for free, maybe that's the way to have some sort of Ring of Honor show weekly. Like, you know, and then you have the live audience of Dynamite there already. And like, it isn't like a studio show. Like you could have an actual crowd. And I feel like that's probably a pretty good idea to do something like that. Like start taping Ring of Honor like before Dynamite. And then that way you're not like, and then put it for free on YouTube also. I mean, if you can get a TV deal, great. I mean, that's even better for them monetarily. But like, you know, I don't think anyone would complain if AEW Dark became Ring of Honor. You know, like so that is my personal opinion. But that's everything I've got. I gotta go work.
Give some plugs real quickly, Stephen Jensen.
Fightful Select Weekender podcast every Sunday. FightfulSelect.com. I talk the world of indie wrestling, so check that out. Every Tuesday, Live Rounds with Doug. That's on the RVD Tito for Life YouTube channel. That's RVD TITO, the number 4 LAFE. 10 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday. So check that out. We talk about a whole lot of stuff. We're very interactive with the chat, answering questions. We do about 2 hours. So we usually end about 12:30 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays if you like those late night shows. And yeah, everything I got going on, just follow me on Twitter at FightTalk _FIGHT TALK_. As I said at the top of the show, I probably won't be able to make it to Terminus tonight because of working late at the shoot job. I might make it out to Battle Slam next week. I'm hoping to, even if I have to show up late, I'm hoping to get out to Battle Slam. I want to see Baron Black versus Lil Scrappy live. But yeah, that's what I've got going on. And I hope y'all enjoy the interview that you're about to hear with myself, Jeremy, and Megabyte Ronnie, because I loved it. I love talking professional wrestling. I love talking professional eating. So yeah, I hope y'all enjoy it. And I will see y'all again right here, same time, same place, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, right here on the Spotlight, youtube.com/Fightful.
Thanks, Jensen. Enjoy the rest of your day. Good luck at the shoot job. No, it sucks.
Appreciate it. See y'all.
Bye, buddy. All right, guys, I'm going to throw to our interview with Megabyte Ronnie. Again, he's a professional wrestler. He's wrestled on AEW Dark in the past. He's appeared on Being the Elite. We talk about that. We did talk about his AEW Dark appearance. Wrestled at PWE this past weekend. Independent show. We talked about that. Talked about competitive eating. He was in the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. He's part of Major League Eating. Really fun interview with Megabyte Ronnie. I really enjoyed this. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. So here we go to our creators spotlight.
Welcome to the Creators Spotlight, the interview portion of the Spotlight right here on Fightful. I, as always, am Stephen Jensen here, as always, with Jeremy Lambert. And today our guest is a U.S. Army veteran. He is a professional wrestler. He is a professional eater. We are joined by Megabyte Ronnie. How you doing, man? Thank you for joining us.
No problem, man. Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. How about you?
Doing good, doing good. Yes, I have a lot of things I want to talk about. I could probably talk to you for hours because I actually am a big fan of competitive eating. Like, unironically, like I actually do follow a lot of the YouTubers. I follow some of the competitive scene a little bit. I get really hyped up for the 4th of July every year for the Nathan's contest. So like I have a lot of pro wrestling stuff I want to ask, a lot of competitive eating type stuff. So I'm like really excited for this episode.
Sick, man. I love talking about eating. So we'll talk it up.
Let's start with the hot dog eating contest. We're talking a little bit off air, and Jensen mentioned I want to hit you up like the day after the contest was done and see if you want to talk to us. And you're like, yeah, I'm kind of done on those days. So how was the Nathan's hot dog eating experience, and how are you feeling now, or 2 weeks removed, I think?
Yeah, I mean, 2 weeks removed, I'm feeling fine. This past weekend, I actually did an ice cream challenge. I ate 8 pounds of ice cream this weekend, so I'm back in it. As far as like Nathan's go, man, like that day is just the best day of the year, without a doubt. Like I count down starting 364. Like I cannot wait to the 4th of July to get back on Surf and Stillwell for Nathan's. Just the contest, the atmosphere, getting to see all my eating friends, and we all go out and party that night. It's just like everything. It's the best day of the year, hands down.
Yeah, you know, and me and Jeremy both look forward to it as fans because we didn't even know before we talked to each other this 4th of July. I hit him up. I direct message him. This is a true story. I direct message him and I was like, hey, man, we're definitely going to be talking about the hot dog eating contest on the show on Thursday. And he immediately sent me a screenshot of him watching the contest at home. Like he was already watching it. So like
it's tradition.
Yes, absolutely. So I don't even know exactly where to start. My first question on the eating side, and when it comes to Nathan's hot dog eating contest, as a competitor yourself, competing against someone like Joey Chestnut, who like is so dominant but like so impressive, is it something when you compete against a guy like that? Is it like just cool to be like up there competing with a guy who's so legendary at what he does? Or is it a little frustrating because like you want to win, but he like wins by so much every year that it almost seems like the fight for second place is kind of like where the real competition is at. And then Joey just kind of, I mean, he might put someone in a headlock and still win the competition. You know what I mean? So what's it like competing against a guy like that?
Well, to shine a light on this, or I don't know, to use the wrestling term, spartan you up to eating business. Joey Chestnut is really only untouchable at hot dogs. So like, right. The number 2 eater in the world, Jeff Esper, I believe in the past year hasn't lost to him at another contest besides hot dogs. So it's like it's cool, and Joey is the GOAT without a doubt. Like, it's cool to be on stage with Joey. Like, I've been there like 5 times while he breaks the record. Like, I'm on the table while Joey's down like 5 people away from me breaking records, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like I don't know. Like, I'm okay with him being so dominant at hot dogs because like in ice cream and chili and stuff like that, I'm not that far behind him. So I don't know. It's cool.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up, because for people who don't pay much attention, you know, like the 4th of July is like the Super Bowl of it, like the hot dog eating contest. But the Major League Eating happens all throughout the year, not just on an MLW scale, but MLE scale, Major League Eating. But you have like YouTubers and stuff like that are making full-time careers on YouTube, whether it's like in actual competitions or just eating really large amounts of food, just like sitting at a restaurant or something. So kind of where do you think you kind of fit into the space? Because you do it competitively. I know you're a ranked eater currently. Do you like being a part of because I've heard like varying things about like being a part of that Major League Eating versus like doing it independently, and like kind of how do you feel about kind of your spot right now in that scene?
Yeah, I think so the people who do it independently and they do it at the top of the independent level, I think that's pretty smart for them. I think like financially they can make a lot more money doing contests that aren't MLE related. You know, MLE only has a set amount of contests per year, but if you're doing independent, like you can find an eating contest like every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Like you can just travel around doing eating contests and make a decent amount of money. So the people who do it independent, I don't blame them. For me personally, I don't know. It's never really been about a money thing. Like for me, it's just like it's really cool to be able to compete at the highest level of the sport against the other top level athletes of the sport. So like if I was the 20th best throwing the football in the world, I would want to be in the NFL playing, you know, NFL football. But like I'm the 20th best eater in the world, so I want to be in Major League Eating, and I want to be going against the best eaters at the best contests. So that's the reason I do that.
I want to know how one just gets into competitive eating. As a kid, are you just like, man, I'm really eating a lot? Are you at the lunch table challenging your friends? Like, I bet I can eat all of this before. Like, how do you actually get into competitive eating and realize like I have a knack for eating a lot of food in a short amount of time?
It was sort of an accident. So like back in 2013, like Man vs. Food was probably one of my favorite shows on TV. And I always thought it was sick, right? Like I always wanted to go do a restaurant challenge because you see that and you're like, I could do that. You know, you want to see if you could go do it. Well, I was in the Army at the time, and I kind of got a short notice that I was deploying to Afghanistan. Like most people get a 9 months notice that they're going to Afghanistan. I got a 2 weeks notice. So like after that 2 weeks notice, I was like, you know what? Let me go try one of those challenges. Sort of like one of those things. So like if I don't make it back, it's like I would always wonder. So I went down the street and I did a 3-pound burger and a pound of fries, and I did that in the time. I deployed to Afghanistan, and while I was in Afghanistan, like I found out how you get on the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, which is you have to go to one of the 15 qualifiers around the United States, be the top man, be the top woman. So it just so happened 2 weeks after I got back from Afghanistan, I was in Georgia. There was a qualifier in Atlanta, an MLE qualifier. So I went up there and I did that, and I finished second, and I ate 16 the very first time I ate, and they signed me to a contract that day. And I was like, well, I guess I'm pretty good at this. I'll just do this now, you know.
That's awesome. What's your personal record in hot dogs in 10 minutes?
On contest is 29.5, and I have done 35 in the backyard trying to get ready for the contest. Yeah.
So like the preparation, that's a whole other thing, because you know people might not realize like most of the competitive eaters that I kind of follow, most of them are in like really good physical shape, and that was something where I saw people kind of like joking, you know, with like Joey Chestnut this year is in a boot, and the people were like, well, he's just standing there eating, right? Like, what's the big deal? And I'm like, yeah, that might have like hindered him like working out in preparation for this. Like, there's a lot that goes into being in the kind of shape to. I mean, when y'all are done eating the hot dogs, you look like you just went through an entire NBA game from start to finish. I mean, you're sweating and you're chewing and you're. I mean, it's like it's no joke that 10 minutes. That's hard work. And so can you speak a little to that? And obviously it ties in with the pro wrestling, because you have to be in good shape to do that. And it all just kind of seems like you've picked some pretty cool avenues to be able to use your athleticism and everything, you know, all together in multiple sports.
Yeah, man, I got lucky. These kind of go hand in hand. I think they're both like from like the carny or the carnival, so they're kind of very related. But it's one of those things. So in eating, your stomach is basically like a giant balloon, right? So your stomach can expand more the less fat you have, because the fat is what's getting in the way of stopping that balloon from expanding. So the majority of us are in good shape. I wouldn't say it's 100% because of eating, but like it kind of attracts the same people. You see a lot of bodybuilders in eating, or personal trainers, or triathlon athletes. Like you kind of see those people in eating, and it makes sense because those type of people are the same people who are eating really high calorie meals. Same thing with like a wrestler my size. Like I got to eat a lot of calories to stay up to 245 pounds. Like it don't just stay there. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that's what it sort of attracts, and it just attracts the athlete. And yeah, it is gnarly, dude. I mean, after a 10-minute eating contest, I am wore out. Like I'm useless the rest of the day. Like that's all my energy. It's all my athletic ability right there. So, and I don't know. It kind of helps to look good in your underwear in wrestling. So the less fat I have, the better I look, in my gear.
After the Nathan's contest, when do you eat your next meal? Like when do you get hungry again after something like that?
That night, man.
That night.
me and my wife actually smashed like a whole large pizza at like 11 o'clock.
I wanted to know, like, do you like enjoy food? Like, you could just like kind of snack on something, or you see like a meal or any type of food, like, gotta finish this in like 3 seconds, just like pound through it. Do people challenge you when a meal is in front of you? Like, do you get to actually sit down and just enjoy and like savor any type of meal?
So like one of my funniest stories. So like whenever I go out to eat, my wife makes me eat food before we go out, so I don't buy like 2 of the main courses. But yeah, but it does happen a lot, man, where I'll sit down with people who maybe like just knew I was a competitive eater, but it's like the first time they met me and we're at an eating environment, and I could feel like everybody at the table stared at me, and I'm like, man, I'm just trying to enjoy my food down here. Like I don't know, people do, every time there's a restaurant that has a restaurant challenge, people want me to do it, like no matter what. Like I could just accidentally go to a restaurant and there's one there and people are like, oh, you're gonna do that. I'm like, nah, man, I'm not. That's not. Pick my spots, brother.
I know you mentioned you've been to Atlanta. I don't know if you're local to Atlanta or if you've just been here a handful of times, but are you familiar with the big pie challenge, the giant pizza here?
Is that a team challenge or is
it is? It's 2 people.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just wondering because no one I know has been successful. I've seen some like really good YouTubers do it, and I'm sure it's something you'd be able to do. But my brother, I told my brother I was interviewing you today, and he was like, "You got to ask him about Big Pie because if he's in Atlanta, we gotta go at the same time, and one of us try to." Hold
Jensen's
on.
looking for a tag team partner.
Looking for a tag team partner, Ronnie. Looking for a tag team partner.
Challenge.
It's kind of funny because like if you are a fan of that, I actually have a challenge coming up. We're doing it next weekend with another independent wrestler. It's gonna be me and Jeff Cannonball. We're gonna be tag teaming a restaurant challenge. That's gonna be coming soon to my YouTube. So that's something that I'm trying to incorporate more. I'm trying to find more eating challenges that I can get other wrestlers in and sort of just tag team. I think a lot of people would like to see that.
Oh, see, that's a good concept for you see all these vlogs and everything with wrestlers. That's a very good concept for a series on YouTube.
Yeah, Cannonball is stoked, man. He's asking me for tips all the time. He's ready for it.
And also kind of like tying it in with pro wrestling. I got to bring this guy up because he deserves so much credit. In my opinion, like when it comes to hype men in all of sports, I think George Shea is like it's like him and Bruce Buffer, or like, I mean, like legitimately, those are the guys. If I want someone to hype me up, those are the guys. It's really kind of like a big pro wrestling presentation on the 4th of July. I mean, Joey Chestnut came down on like a lift type thing, and everyone has their intros, when they come out. Yours was fantastic, by the way. You came out and you had me hyped up for that contest. Like, you had the crowd going. I mean, it's pretty much the most American thing you can do, to be like an Army veteran and then go into competitive eating on the 4th of July. Like it hypes me up, man. What's that whole feeling like when that dude's introducing you and like you're getting ready to to put down these hot dogs.
Man, I tell you what, that's why I signed that contract so fast. Because my very first contest, man, I was the second to last person out. They kind of hyped me up as the guy who was going to beat this guy who was really good. I had no fucking shot. Sorry.
No, you
can curse. You're good.
I had no shot against this guy. Anyways, so like I come out and I have like my own entrance music. There's George Shea giving me this introduction of like how I just got back from Afghanistan and I'm here to save the country. And I'm like, oh God, like, am I really worth all that? You know what I'm saying? So like, that was what hooked me instantly. And then to have it on the 4th of July, I mean, like, you know, I know how to get people excited. So I know what I'm doing out there, but it's just really good to get up on that catwalk and hit that salute and people just go absolutely ballistic for that, man. I love it.
I mean, it is total pro wrestling. I want to transition here to wrestling.
Yeah.
Like, how did you get started when it comes to wrestling? Like, where did you train at? Like, how did that all come together with pro wrestling in you?
So it's kind of funny. Like, it was one of those things that like I always wanted to get into, right? So like when I got out of the Army at 24, I had paid like a deposit to go to Lance Storm's wrestling academy, and like,
okay,
I didn't go. Like I just sort of like I don't know, kind of like chickened out or whatever. It was just like it was.
Did you get your deposit back?
No, I did not. Lance Storm still has $500 of Megabyte Ronnie's money.
Oh,
but it's all good. Like it's all fine. So like, anyways, from 24 to 29, I just kind of like sat around like not doing a whole lot. And at 29, I was just like, you know, that wrestling thing. If I don't go do that, then I'm not really going to be happy with, you know, like the way this thing ends. Like I have to go do it, right? So I had a friend who was up in Buffalo, and I was just looking to kind of like escape my situation I was in at the moment, just go do something new. And it just so happened to be that there was Grapplers Anonymous in Buffalo, which is a wrestling school. I didn't know anything about it. I just moved to Buffalo and was like, there's a wrestling school there. I'm going to go there. I didn't know it was going to be like as amazing as a school as it was. So I was trained by Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics. And then I was in the class right behind like Daniel Garcia, Kevin Blackwood, and Puff. So I was like right behind those guys. You had the Butcher teaching like an advanced class on Wednesday. Like I just landed in the best situation you could have ever asked for sure.
Yeah, a lot of really good people came out of that scene, that Buffalo scene. A lot of people really thriving right now. Mm-hmm. I've seen you pop up a little bit in AEW as well. What was the experience like on BTE? I marked out pretty hard seeing you doing some. I was hoping that was going to stick longer. I was hoping that was going to be a longer thing.
So it's kind of funny. So like a lot of people don't realize this, but my 20th ever match was on AEW. So
really?
Like, I was like brand new, man. Like I was pretty stoked to be in a situation like that. Actually, I got onto AEW because I ate chicken wings with Cody Rhodes on Hot Ones. So like I kind of got there a different way. I got there through eating, but that's either here or there. Yeah, I mean, so for being the elite, I'm backstage, I'm hanging out, right? And the Bucks walk up to me and they're like, hey, I don't know if you've seen this or not, but we have this YouTube series. I'm like, guys, you know, like shut the fuck up. Like I know what the elite is. You know,
I'm a
like,
YouTuber, man. Of course.
Like I'm a wrestler, bro. Like I'm not just like some eater guy just hanging around back here. And they were like, hey, you know, we'd really like you to do the scene. We'll come up with something. And they started asking me for ideas like what type of food I wanted. And I was just like, I want something soft, but I don't want something that's just like pudding, you know what I'm saying? Like I want it to look like spray every fucking where while I'm eating it. And they're like, all right, cool. So they came up with the idea with cake, and I wanted something that was kind of juicy, so I didn't like choke on it because I didn't want to be drinking a lot of water in the scene, you know what I'm saying? So I said a lemon glazed cake, which was a huge mistake because those are way drier than I anticipated, man. Yeah, so we go to film this scene, and they're telling me what they want me to do. They're like, hey, we want you to walk down this hallway, and then we want you to, you know, come around the corner, and then you're gonna give the kick to Brandon and stuff like that. And I'm like, cool. So like they didn't give me any instructions. So I just like hit that scene where I'm walking down the hallway, and I did that in one take, and they were like, holy shit, like we were not expecting all this. So man, they just roll me into this room. I'm eating 2 lemon glazed cakes while Brandon's on the phone. He's saying stuff about his scrotum, like I'm almost choking because I'm laughing. And why I'm doing this, man, there's like 10 other wrestlers in the room. Like Miro is literally like 5 feet away from me. Like I'm just like living the dream. I tell you that scene was amazing. One of the best things I'll probably ever do in my life. Great.
Oh my God. If I remember correctly, it was all like one shot too. Like you ate the entire thing. Like, I don't think the camera even cut off of you. It was a real time. You just eat your entire cake.
Yeah, man.
Awesome.
So did Cody, invite you to the dark tapings? Because I believe they were. This was during the pandemic and everything, and it was at Daly's place. So did Cody invite you to that when you did Hot Ones with him?
Yeah, so we did Hot Ones. Me and my wife got on Hot Ones, the game show, right? So like I kind of was cool with Sean Evans, the host of it, from that. And he reached out to me and said, hey, during the pandemic, we're going to do this thing, like a redemption thing for people who didn't win. And you're going to be teamed up with somebody famous. So, like Hot Ones producers got with me and they were like, so do you know like actors and celebrities? I was like, nah, not really. Cause I like, don't like, I don't know pop culture, man. I was like, they're like, well, what do you know? I was like, wrestling. They're like, all right, we'll find something for you. So I had heard, they had emailed me back later and they were like, oh, so you're probably going to be doing stuff with Impractical Jokers. You need to start watching them. So I started watching Impractical Jokers for like 2 weeks to get ready for this thing, man. And then I'm coming in there and I start the show and there's Cody Rhodes. And, we go through and we do the Hot Ones thing, but I don't think he was expecting me to be like sort of what I was. Because he kept complimenting me on like my body and like my presentation and stuff like that. And then at the end of it, he was like, hey man, we got to get you down here sometime. We'll be in touch and we'll get you down here. And when they invited me out there, they never told me I was wrestling or anything like that. I just sort of brought my gear with me because you always bring your gear with you. And Smart. I got there and I was on the card. I was the very last match. Me and Brian Cage, we wrestled at like 4 a.m. and it was it was great.
Yes, always bring your gear. That is the wrestler's rule that is out there. And I know those tapings at Dark were extremely, extremely long. Did you, you said Miro was right there. Did you talk to any of the wrestlers? Did you talk to Tony Khan about anything happening in AEW? But who'd you interact with backstage at AEW?
I'm gonna be honest, like I got lucky because like it just so happened the other Buffalo guys were there. So it was just really me, Kevin Blackwood, Puff, and Daniel Garcia. We kind of hung out to our, with our own crew. We interacted with everybody there. I mean, Miro was a real big fan of me eating, who else was in the room? Tony Khan was there. He was a big fan of it. He was around, like, I don't know, pretty much the whole crew. Like, nobody. No, here's the thing about AEW that I didn't expect is that everybody there is like really cool. So you're just like backstage and everybody's just like talking. Everybody's gathered around the TV watching each other's matches. Everybody's like cheering for other people. Like it feels like a real cool like brotherhood there. And I felt very welcomed, for the one day I was there.
It's very cool. Who were you always a fan of wrestling, and if so, like who were some of your favorite wrestlers like growing up?
Yeah, so like when I was 4, my dad was in the military. We were in Germany, and we didn't get a lot of TV channels. Like he had 4 options. They're the AFN networks, especially what the Army gives you. So I didn't have like cartoons or anything. And then I just discovered wrestling, and it was like the most craziest thing I had seen at the time. With the the gear, the way people look, the face painting, the big men fighting and stuff like that. So like the second I saw that was everything to me. Like wrestling was just number one, like my entire life. So it was just like, as soon as I saw it, was hooked. As far as my favorite wrestlers growing up, like my favorite bar none's The Rock. If I had to, like, somebody asked me this on Reddit the other day, if I had to do a top 4, it'd be The Rock, Chris Jericho, Scott Hall, and Kurt Hennig. So
good top 4.
That's
very good top 4. I want to switch over to PWE because you headlined the show this past weekend against Hot Dog Starks, and you lost to a hot dog.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if the Undertaker is a hot dog. Like, this
is a big controversy. I've seen this controversy that a hot dog has defeated you. So you're claiming that the Undertaker not an actual hot dog, and you're still undefeated.
It's not alive. Have you ever seen a dead hot dog? I don't think so. So that's not a hot dog. That's a Undertaker. That's another being, brother.
That's fair. That's valid.
What was it? Main eventing the PWE show and wrestling on IWTV and going up against Hot Dog Starks.
it's sick, man, because it's like this company believes in you enough to like give you the main event of their show that's on IWTV. They've been behind us the entire time. Let us build this feud. I mean, we got this feud over on ESPN, man. Like Hot Dog Starks was there in 2020, you know, costing me my personal record. Like he showed up and got in my face on ESPN. So it's just kind of cool for me and him to like have this like epic feud and like a company behind it really believe in it, really promote it, and just like give us that opportunity. And it's definitely a special memory for me, even though I lost unfortunately to a guy who is not a hot dog.
what would be some other memories that really stand out from really from your pro wrestling or from your eating career?
I would say in pro wrestling, really early on, I think on like match 16 or something. The school I trained for, Grapplers Anonymous, they were hosting a show. It was one of their first shows, and they trusted me in the semi-main against Daniel Garcia. And like, you know, like Daniel Garcia should be wrestling, I don't know, the best people in the world like he is right now. He should have been doing that, you know, years ago. But like to have that sort of trust, to be in there with that guy, that one always is pretty special to me. And then, you know, of course, the one on AEW with Brian Cage, just to be able to go out there and do what I do and be myself. And they let me do that. And Brian Cage, you know, worked with me. So like, those are probably the top three. As far as eating goes, my best memory in eating, like I mentioned earlier, you gotta qualify to make it to Nathan's. So I qualified in 2013. I qualified in 2014. And I didn't qualify in 2015, 2016, and 2017. I actually lost 7 qualifiers, and most of them I lost by like 1 or 2 hot dogs. So I was really down. And then in 2018, I was like, you know what? Like I will never ever watch this freaking contest at home again. Like there's no way I will never not qualify. And I went out to the first qualifier of the year and I hit it out of the park and I qualified. And I've qualified every year since then. So that Nashville qualifier really is really a special place for me.
What made you turn the corner or get into that next gear to where you like now you just hit that next gear and never look back?
I moved to Buffalo, man. Moving to Buffalo changed my life. I'll be honest with you. I just sort of, I don't know. I just hit a point in my life where I was like, you know what? It's like now or never, and it was now.
I mean, what was it about Buffalo that sparked sort of a change?
I don't know. It's just like I was in a good atmosphere, man. I moved up here because my best friend from the Army was here, so it's real nice to have like because you know the brotherhood in the Army is something special. So to have somebody like that and to be able to train at a school that I was getting to train at, man, like I was just excited to go train with those guys every Monday, you know, Wednesday, like just to learn from Brandon Thurston and ask him questions about wrestling and stuff like that. Luckily got a good job, you know, met my wife. Like it just sort of all happened for me in Buffalo. So
you mentioned being a big fan of ice cream. So when you're not competitively eating ice cream, what is your favorite ice cream flavor?
Favorite ice cream flavor. That's a hard one. I'll give you my favorite ice cream, which is fish food. So if I had to give you a food, it would be Ben & Jerry's fish food. Okay. Trying to think of a flavor, man.
I think the Ben & Jerry stuff like kind of counts as a flavor. Personally speaking.
We'll just stick with fish food.
Okay. What were you gonna say? Because I cut you off and I apologize for that.
Funny enough, I really like key lime pie. So like a good key lime pie flavored ice cream. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, okay. What's your overall favorite food?
Chicken wings. So my
Buffalo's a good place to live then, right?
Yeah. That's probably why I turned it all around, man. It's because I got those high quality wings in me. But chicken wings is probably my favorite food, and believe it or not, I would say hot dogs are probably my second favorite food. Like I won't eat them right after the 4th of July, but come December, I'll have some barbecue dogs, you know.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have any favorite like eating YouTubers that you like to watch?
Favorite eating YouTuber I like to watch is probably Beard Meets Food, and that's because Beard is a really good. He's so artistic. He's so like his videos are so well shot. He's such a good character. He's such a good person. He's very entertaining. He's very good at eating. It's just like it's the top notch to me. It's like the premier content for eating. Like we all have to get on his level of production.
Well, he's got the high production on YouTube, and he's also, I believe, the #1 ranked eater in his country, and also competes in Nathan's on the 4th of July. So he's a guy who's really doing it all. are you familiar with a guy called Brandon the Garbage Disposal Clark?
Yeah, I am actually.
Okay, that guy fascinates me because he seems like the most fringe part of this community where like I think he can out eat anybody, but like instead he's like literally swallowing hot dogs to like mess with people and stuff like that. But I think it's entertaining, but you never see him in like the competitions or anything.
No, man, that brother's a good eater, like no doubt about it. But it's just like there's so many people who are on YouTube eating a lot of food. So if you could find another niche for yourself, like why not go that route?
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm a big fan. Like I like all those guys. Like I think I initially discovered maybe like Randy Santel years ago, and of course there was Matt Stoney through the competitive and through YouTube, and Joel Hansen has had a big come up. Model versus Food, all those guys.
You like Joel?
I like Joel. Yeah, do you?
Yeah, I've done some traveling with Joe, so there's been some road stories where me and him will go to like a city and knock out like 5 or 6 challenges in a weekend. Man, Joe is a warrior. That dude he's great.
That's so cool. I would love to hear more stories about the two of you guys because that guy's very impressive. He's one of the like he's a model, like he's a literal model, and he can eat like so much volume. It's impressive. That's really cool that you know each other.
I tell you this, if Joe signed with Major League Eating, he'd be a top 5 eater. Like he's legitimately one of the best eaters in the world. And it's unfair that he looks as handsome as he does while he's doing it.
Well, it's funny when you watch this video, sometimes like those women will be walking by the table and just like,
I've seen it, man. I've been on the table. He's a very handsome guy. No doubt about it.
It's funny. I never get to talk about this stuff with anybody. So I'm just happy you even know what I'm talking about right now. So.
Okay, for sure.
Last one here for you. Coolest thing you got in your room?
Coolest thing I got in my room. All right, let's see. I'm gonna go. I just grabbed my Waluigi that I have hanging up on my wall. So I got a Waluigi as my favorite Mario character. That's probably I got a hot dog trophy. I don't know. I kind of panicked on this one. It's the first thing I saw. But like,
wait, sometimes we catch people off guard. Some people are like, we ask everybody, and some people are caught off guard, and some people are like, oh, I got this thing right here. It's a nice little capper to the interview of all this. But Waluigi, that's a good Mario character. That's one of the kids' favorites.
I like it.
That's my go-to Mario Kart character.
You know what? I've actually got. You can't. I don't want to. This will take too much time, but I got some Mario stuff in here. Got a big Mario in here.
Jensen's got like giant of everything. Giant
belts,
giant figures.
I have a life-size Sonic the Hedgehog. Which
man.
Yeah, he wears my. I didn't know what to do. I have one of those Popofkas that that Khabib Nurmagomedov wears, and I didn't have anywhere to put it, so I just put it on my giant Sonic, and he just like hangs out in our living room, and we call him Sonic Nurmagomedov. So, but last question I've got for you, Ronnie. Goals in eating and in pro wrestling, and in kind of a perfect world, when it's kind of all said and done, like what are the things that you wanted to have accomplished?
And eating is actually really simple. Like I just want to eat 40 hot dogs on the 4th of July. Like that's been my goal this entire time. Like even like my first like Nathan's, it was like, what's your goal? It's 40. It's always been 40. I've always known I can eat 40. I can't eat 40 in 10 minutes, but I'm going to one day. Like I'm going to get there, no doubt about it. As far as wrestling goes, man, I don't know. I guess my goal would just be doing it more. I just like to be wrestling every weekend, man. Like there's nothing like it. There's nothing like being in a ring. There's nothing like entertaining the fans. And I don't know. I would like to not be able to have a full-time job and just be a wrestler. And that's pretty much my goal. Does that goal mean I sign a contract or what? I don't care, man. As long as I'm living and having fun with wrestling, that's where I want to be.
Awesome.
Ronnie, I do have one more question, actually. I don't know if you saw Raw on 4th of July. Did you see this hot dog eating contest they put on, and Otis is throwing up out there? Like, what do you make of something like that?
I saw the highlights of it, man, and I don't know. It was just sort of like one of those things that like I wish they would just reach out to me. Like I could have really spiced that up. You know what I'm saying? Like you could have flew me out there for that, and it would have been nice. Like I don't know. Like it kind of sucks when people take a jab at our sport like that. So I don't know. Just ask me about it next time, I guess. WWE. Like I don't know what to say. Yeah, I would have been. I've been able to give a lot of cool tips and probably made that better. Even if they didn't want to feature me on it, like I could have just showed them how to make it look like a better presentation. I guess I don't know.
Bruce, next 4th of July, hit up Megabyte Ronnie. Let him consult on your terrible eating contest that you guys do. Megabyte Ronnie, we appreciate you joining us here today. Let everybody know where they can find you at.
You can find me on Twitter at twitter.com/Megabyte Ronnie, or just at Megabyte Ronnie. I don't know how many of you guys know about forward slashes out there. You can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/Megabyte Ronnie, or I'm sure if you just type in there Megabyte Ronnie, you'll find me. If you want to support me, the best thing you could do is just head on over to my YouTube and like it and subscribe to it. And that would be great.
Again, thank you again for joining us. We'll have to have you back. I know Jensen has a million more questions about competitive eating.
I can do an entire hour-long interview about just the garbage disposal, Brandon Clark. Alone. So yeah,
for sure. I'll be back anytime you guys want.
Awesome.
We appreciate it, man. Thank you again for joining us, guys. We'll be right back here on the Spotlight. We're back. Thank you again to Megabyte Ronnie for joining us on the show. Big shout out to him. Much appreciated. Again, give him a follow at Megabyte Ronnie on Twitter and all social media. Great guy. He had a Buffalo Sabres hat on. We talked a little bit before off air about his hockey fandom. He's trying to get in it. So good luck to getting into hockey, Megabyte Ronnie. You could get into it by supporting the 2022 Stanley Cup champion Colorado Avalanche. Guys, we appreciate everyone hanging out with us for a couple hours here. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Everyone can go over to Fightful Overbooked. We had a new Day After Dynamite coming up this later on this afternoon with Will Washington reviewing last night's Dynamite. We have new shows. We had FMC on Monday. We had the Lambs dropping the scoops on Tuesday. The series officially debuts on Saturday. We got some other new shows in the works. So everyone go over to FightfulOverbook.com, support, help us out, leave us some thumbs up on some videos. Caden is doing some shorts over there. You can watch Connor Casey put SP3 in a body bag on the show. So everyone can go do that. You can follow me on Twitter at Jeremy Lambert 88. Give me a like on my Jim Ross acclaimed rap video that I'm very proud of. Do that. Again, we appreciate it, everybody. Go to Fightful.com. Go to FightfulSelect.com. Sign up, subscribe. Sean Ross Sapp's got all the exclusives, the news over there, things like that. We'll be back next Thursday with a new episode. Bye, everybody. Bye.